Let's make some bridesmaid skirts. Okay, so for the bridesmaids, we're going with a skirt and lace top concept. So we're making skirts, camisoles and lace tops. There are 3 bridesmaids, one 17-year-old and 2 11-year-olds. And they've asked for different styles of lace tops. The 11-year-olds have gone for one style and 17-year-olds gone for a different one. So there'll be 2 different ones of those. Today we're making a start on the skirts. We're using the calico pattern because the bridesmaids live in Bulgaria and I can't do fittings. The calico is adjustable because it's based on 17th century skirts. So it ties on at the back and then ties on at the front, and it has some 17th century pockets in there as well. So the girls will get a bit of a kick out of that. So yeah, for practicality's sake, going with an adjustable pattern seemed to make sense. And they've all asked for ankle length skirts and the pattern is knee length. So let's go and take a look at getting the pattern ready and cut out with the extra length for my very leggy nieces.
Okay, so I've adapted my oldest niece's skirt pattern. Turns out all 3 of my nieces are quite leggy, so I had to extend the pattern quite a lot. I knew I was going to need to do that anyway because the pattern is knee length and we're going for ankle length skirts, so I knew I was going to need to extend them a fair way anyway. But looking at the pattern pieces, I'm starting to panic that I may not have enough of the fabric, particularly for view B. As with this pattern, which is the calico pattern by Wildflower Design, I just made a note on the top of what percentage I need to print it at to get it the right size. For view A, you cut out 2 panels for the front, 2 panels for the back. For view B, you cut out 4 for the front and 4 for the back. And I was hoping to go for view B, so the skirts are a bit fuller. I've cut out 1 panel of each so far. I'm about to do the second one. So I figure if I've got enough fabric to cut out the 17-year-olds, I've got enough fabric to cut out the 11-year-olds. Because I ordered the same lengths of fabric for all 3. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to get 4 panels. But because you gather the panels down to the waistband, if I can get 3 panels, that would be good. If I can't, as long as I've got enough width for the 17-year-old's hips, which I should do, because it's a half circle skirt and that's the way half circle skirts work, then we'll go with view A. But I'm hoping to go at least somewhere between view A and view B. We'll see. We'll see. To give you a sense of how much extension, we've got patchwork going on here for the extension on the pattern pieces. And the 11-year-olds ones will be the same because the twins are also quite long in the leg, which is fine. I can adapt. I can make it work. So, yeah. Onwards. Okay, so we've had a little bit of a change of plan. We're going to go with view A of the pattern rather than view B. Let me flip the camera around so you can see what I'm looking at whilst I've been having my lunch, and I'll explain a little bit more. Okay, so this is 4 pieces of the skirt, so 2 front, 2 back, cut out, ready to go, with the extended length for the 17-year-old. This is the fabric I have left. I may possibly be able to get a 3rd panel of each of this out of that, but it would be extremely tight. I really don't think I'm going to get a 4th out. So first of all, check out this hemline. That is a 1/4 of the total hemline of the skirt. So that's a bit epic. So we're not going to be short of fullness on the hemline. And I also looked back at the measurements in the pattern booklet for the size that I've cut out for the 17-year-old. And she's going to have about 15 to 20 inches of ease around her hips, which I think is plenty. So we're going to go with the view A, so the more slimline skirt, rather than the gathered one. So that will also mean that the lace layer that's going underneath the chiffon will be less subtle than on the gathered skirt, so that's not a bad thing. So yeah, so I need to cut out the waistband pieces, which means I need to decide if I'm going to stick with the View B waistband or if I'm going to do the View A waistband. The difference primarily being that the View B waistband is like a corset laced style closure for the back piece that is then covered by the front piece, and the View A version uses less fabric, so that's obviously a plus, and uses D-rings to close. So that might be easier for the 11-year-olds to do unaided for the first couple of times, because the idea is that they'll be able to reuse the elements of the bridesmaids outfits in different combinations with different things that they've got to go to different events and stuff. So we're doing separates. It'll certainly be an easier sew to do the View A waistband, because I won't need to do lacing loops. I will need to buy D-rings though. So I'm going to have a ponder on that. I will obviously have fabric left over doing this, like a significant amount of fabric left over on the chiffon layer and probably the lace layer as well. Not so much on the lining layer because, not that I ordered less fabric of that, but because there's more parts to cut out. I'm not cutting out the pockets, for instance, in the chiffon and the lace. I'm just going to cut them out in the lining. So yeah, so there's some thinking to be done before I cut out the next bits. And then I've got more fabric left over than I thought I was going to do, which I can then use for other things. So that's not a bad thing, because I have some ideas of how I can use some of the scraps for the wedding as part of the signage and stuff that I'm putting together. But then there's always going to be other things that will crop up where a little bit of something might be quite nice to go in somewhere. So yeah, that's the plan. So I'm going to have a little bit think about the waistband, then cut out the sections of the waistband that I need to cut out of the chiffon. Then we need to move on to cutting out the lace, and then we can cut out the crepe lining. I do like having multiple layers on these sorts of skirts, and it will look great. It's not what the pattern's written for. The pattern is written for 1 layer. It just always takes a lot longer to cut out 3 layers than it takes to cut out 1. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Now I know what I'm doing and I've got a plan. And I know that I've got enough fabric, so I'm not going to be panicking as I'm lengthening the twins version of the pattern and cutting those. Oh, I have to get some labels as well. Particularly for the twins versions, because they've chosen the same options for the top. I gave the girls a list of necklines and sleeve lengths and hem lengths, that sort of stuff that we could do, and they picked from there. So the twins have gone for scoop necks and cap sleeves on their tops, whereas the 17-year-old has gone for a V-neck, which is all good. I was quite happy for them to all have different if they wanted. But it does mean that because the twins aren't exactly the same size, that I need to make sure that everything is labelled. There's a little bit of a height difference between them, and a little bit of a difference in some of the other measurements. And we're talking like 1/2 inch to 1 inch. It's not a massive difference, but the length in particular will be different on the skirts and the tops to get things to sit where they need to sit. So I'll need to make sure that I've labelled them to make sure that they pick up the right ones after the wedding. So yeah, so I think I'll probably end up going with the View A waistband, because that's going to be a much easier sew, and obviously time is an issue. So that means I need to order some labels, I need to order some D-rings, and I will probably order some more thread. I got Minerva to match the thread for the fabrics when I ordered them, but I forgot to increase the number of reels of thread. I'm smart like that. So yes, I might order some more thread just to be on the safe side. And yeah, having extra fabric left over compared to what I thought I was going to have does give me an opportunity to practice the hems before I do them on the real skirts. Whilst they're hanging to let the bias drop, I can do some hem practice. So that's all good. Right home. I'm going to finish taking my lunch break. Got some drink to drink. Hydration is important. And yeah, I think I'm probably going to go with View A's waistband. It's going to be easier that way because then I'm just following the same instructions all the way through. And yeah, I'll get back to you once I've got to the point of sewing, I think. Okay, so we've got the 17-year-old's skirt hanging up there. It's not side seamed, it's not hemmed. The pattern has you hang it before you do that to allow the bias to drop, which makes sense because if you sew the side seams up and then let the bias drop, you might end up with warped seams. So that's been hanging for a little while. It's probably about ready to be levelled and what have you, but I'm going to wait and do them all together once I've done everything else. So I've got the other two skirts to sew up. They're in progress. And then the tops to do, and then I'll come back and finish the skirts up. One thing I didn't do on that skirt was, or one thing that I did do rather, was I did the pockets exactly as written and just did them in the lining fabric, which is fine, but it is quite a stark contrast between the chiffon and the lining fabric, so if that peeks through at all, it's going to show up. So having flatlined all the waistband pieces, interfaced and flatlined the waistband pieces for the twins skirts, I was thinking about it last night. I think what I'm going to do is cut out pocket fronts from the chiffon for those skirts, flatline the front of the pocket, and then have less of a jump. I'm not going to put the lace layer in to the pocket, but I will put the chiffon on so that the pockets look like the waistbands, and then if there is a little bit peeking through, it's going to be a little bit less noticeable. I mean, there shouldn't be anything peeking through, but as a just in case with them being adjustable skirts. And then I'll go back and I'll hand sew some chiffon over the pocket for that one later. At least that's the plan. So that's step one today, is get the pockets sorted for the twins, and then we can start putting everything together with all the multiple different threads. because the layers are all different colours. This the lining's the same for everything, so we've got the lining stuff done first. Okay. Okay, so we've got 17-year-olds and one of the 11-year-olds skirts on the dummy at the moment, on the mannequin. Obviously, not how you would traditionally wear skirts. For a start, their side seams aren't done yet. That's done after they've hung for a while. But also, my mannequin is a little bit smaller than me, but not much, like hugely smaller than me. And I am not the same size as an average 17-year-old or an average 11-year-old. So we're making do. So yes, we've got two done. Hopefully you can see they're in different shades of pink, dusky pinks. And the third one is going to be in this blush chiffon. So I've got the chiffon layer and the final construction bits to do with the third skirt, and then they can be hung up on there as well, so that the bias of the skirts can drop, and they're going to hang until I've got the tops done. So yes, we're going to get cracking with that. To give you a sense of timelines, it is now the middle of June. I get married late July, so I've got about a month and a half-ish. So I've got this to finish, and I've got the tops to do. The tops are fairly straightforward once I've got the patterns sorted, but we'll be looking at those in subsequent video or videos. So we've got multiple patterns to work with. So yeah, so let's get cracking with this chiffon. I've done the stay stitching for the back panels, so I'm going to French seam down the middle and finish the edges. Do the same for the front, and get the front and back compiled into coherent pieces that can then hang on the mannequin. And then I can send the girls pictures of how the fabric's looking so far, because they haven't seen it yet, and they're interested. With the medical issues I've had recently, I didn't get the photos done yet, so I'm going to do that later on today. As you can see, my face is almost back to normal. I mean, I can feel there's a difference, but you probably can't notice, which is great. Yeah, still on the steroids, not loving them. We're nearly 2 weeks in. So yeah, my recovery's been pretty quick for this, really. I'll probably have done an update video between now and when you see this, or at least I will have done a podcast or something, so you will have had this update already. But yeah, not going to miss the steroid side effects. That's not been fun. But yeah, so let's get cracking with this, and then hopefully in a couple of weeks the tops will all be done, and I'll be able to get the skirts finished. Side seams shouldn't take too long, but the hemming, they're big hems. There's 3 layers. At least one of them's lace. I don't really need to hem lace. I can just trim that, so that'll be fine. But yeah, they are big hems. I am very glad now that I opted to do the slimmer version of the skirt and not the gathered one, because that would have been twice as much hem. I think it's probably going to take me a few days. Well, it's definitely going to take me a few days to hem all 3 skirts with levelling and then hemming. But yeah, that's an issue for early July. Yeah, okay. Chiffon to sew. Okay, so the pockets are on. This is the back piece of the skirt. So you tie the back piece round to the front and then the front piece round to the back afterwards. So next step is to put on the back waistband. So that's going to be sewn right sides together with this D-ring extension, which is actually the bit that you tie through the D-rings, lined up with the edge of the pocket on this side. So I'll get that done. Okay, so now that the back waistband is attached, we need to fold it this way, and then we're going to sew from the short side up to just by the pockets on this side where the D-rings are going to be attached, and on this side where you tie it through the D-rings. So yes, that's a quick job. So we'll do that and we'll come back and turn them out in a sec. Okay, so now I need to turn out and press both the bit that goes through the D-rings and the bit that holds the D-rings. So we're going to do that using my new gadget. Now, can I just say, why the heck did I not invest in a set of these sooner? I've got a set of 3, one's small, medium and large, and these are game changers. So I put the plastic bit inside the bit I want to turn. Take the pointy end of the bamboo thing and pop it in this end, ease in the fabric, put it out the other end, and I'm just going to take the blue bit off, the plastic bit off, and I'm going to use the pointy end of the stick that's inside to just ease out the corners. And then we can scoot the stick out. So much quicker than any other method I've used. Seriously, why did I not invest sooner? They're not expensive. Okay, so I'm just hand basting down the waistband so that I can top stitch it from the front to attach it in place. So I've pinned it first, and I'm hand basting long stitches in a contrast colour, so it's easy to see where it is, because then I can use that as a rough guideline as to where to stitch, as well as it being easier to see where to remove it from. Anything that I don't quite catch with the top stitching, I'll come back and finish by hand afterwards, because I don't want to put any additional machine stitching rows on with the top stitching, because then it starts to look messy. And there's only one more step after that for the back of the skirt. So we'll come back and have a look at how we're attaching the D-rings once I've got the waistband fully sewn on. Okay, so there are 2 different versions of the waistbands and the skirts in this pattern. The other version that has the gathered skirt comes with like a corset type lacing closure, which is like a thicker panel on the back. But I thought that this would be easier to, the other version would be easier to sew and also easier for the girls to deal with when they're not used to like corset type things. So it involves D-rings and this little end of the waistband. So I'm just going to pop both D-rings onto this little end, fold it behind, and then stitch a couple of rows. So I'll do one towards the end. It just tells you one in the pattern, but I'm going to do a couple. So one towards the end and one sort of part way along to secure it in place because there's going to be a bit of tension on that. And yeah, that's the little fastening done. So we'll get that done, and I'll show you what it looks like once it's sewn on. Okay, so there's our D-rings attached. Obviously I've not trimmed any threads yet. I'll do that when I come back and hem and do any hand finishing and things. But to fasten it, you just pop your D-ring loop through and then back on itself. And that's it. So that'll hold fairly steady. If you've got a bit left over and you want a bit of extra security, you can always tie a little knot. I'm going to also provide the girls with some safety pins, just because they live in Bulgaria, so we haven't been able to do any fittings. So we're going to have a little emergency sewing kit with safety pins and things in on the day. But yeah, so that's that one done. The front of the skirt is put together in much the same way, just without the D-rings. And they're longer ties on the front waistband, so they just tie around the back like a normal wraparound skirt. So next time we look at these skirts, it'll be time for side seams, levelling hems and all that kind of stuff. So they're going to hang for a while. Okay, hopefully the fan is not being picked up too badly. So skirts have all been hanging for a while, and I brought the mannequin downstairs with the 17-year-old skirt on. The 11-year-olds won't even come close to fitting on the mannequin, so I'll just pin them on at the front and for this next job. But the 17-year-olds is only just a little bit too small for the mannequin. So yes, I've got it on there. I've pinned it around the waistband to keep everything level. I'm going to measure her desired hem length and mark it with pins so I can go in. So the chiffon hem, then once the chiffon hem is done, I will measure the lace and the lining based on the chiffon hem. So I'm only going to be having the measuring from here the once with each skirt. But yeah, so I'm going to crawl around on the floor. I brought it downstairs because I don't have enough space in the craft room to do this. Okay, so we're a little bit down to the wire now. It's Monday, the wedding is Thursday. Had anticipated getting these done a couple of weeks ago, but life. But we are on the final stage now, so I just need to get the lining of these skirts hemmed, and we're done. So I trimmed the lace back, trimmed the lining back, and now we're just hemming the lining. And next week you'll see a video of me making camisoles. A week after that it'll be lace tops. In fact, the 2 weeks after it'll be lace tops. But, yeah, almost there. But, obviously won't have pictures of the girls in their outfits in time for me to finish editing these videos, so you just have to wait for that. Delayed gratification. It's a thing. It's a good thing. Okay, so thank you for spending time with me today. So next week we'll be making satin camisoles using the Ogden Cami recipe, Ogden Cami pattern. And I look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, there's this video up here that may be of interest to you. And I'll see you next time, but until then, happy crafting and bye-bye for now.